Right, we're live now. How you doing, Nate? You all right?
I'm fine with you, man. How you doing?
Good, good. So, Nate Campbell's the former undisputed lightweight champion of the world. He's going to tell you about his career today. But first off, what did you make of the action on the weekend, champ?
I'm happy. I'm happy Roy came out okay.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised how good Mike Tyson looked after all this time.
Yeah. Well, Mike has a good style.
Yeah, I know he's got a good style, but just he's kind of abused his body for 15 years since retiring, and Roy stayed quite active and still looked good. But a lot of people kind of thought that Mike deserved to get the win there. What did you think?
Well, because it was an exhibition. There is no winner. There is no winner in the exhibition, but Mike did look better. I think Roy put so much wear and tear on his body, and those knees seemed like they gave him problems. But that was a bucket list fight for Roy, and I love Roy. As a matter of fact, I talked to him right after the fight. I talked to him before the fight. A lot of people know that me and Roy Jones are really tight. But Mike did look good. I told him, I said, he looked good. He said, he looked good.
Yeah, well, he certainly did. And just another thing that also happened on the card, it's kind of like a lot of people are talking about it right now, is that that idiot YouTube star Logan Paul or Jake Paul, he beat the basketball player Nate Robinson, knocked him out quite badly. But obviously after the fight, he made a lot of noise because he was calling Canelo out, he was calling Conor McGregor out, and calling loads of other people out. And he's basically just a lot of the boxing world seems to be talking about him now because he's annoyed everyone. What did you think about that, mate?
That fight was BS from the time they made it. I had already told everybody on the Lion Killer podcast that I'm the co-host on that fight was trash. I said, dude, there was no reason for them to make that fight. That fight was set up for Jake Paul to look good. He's trash, and they put him in with a guy who never fought before. 6 months ago was shooting layups, just shooting layups. Stop it. Stop calling out. And my anger is that you got some dummy dunce casters that'll say that he got a chance. Dumb.
I mean, it is awfully frustrating when you see stuff like that. And I know, like, there's some argument Mike Tyson made it. I think Mike Tyson's only said it because he's making money from him. But that it brings exposure to boxing, which I suppose it does. But for boxing purists, it's just an embarrassment, to be honest with you. And I don't think it does anything like productive at all for the image of the sport. But just nice to hear your thoughts about that, anyways, Nate. But anyways, before we start talking about your pro career, what was life like growing up for you in Florida, and how did you first get into boxing and amateur boxing, Nate?
For me, I grew up very poor. Everybody knows that. My mother had a drug habit. My father was an alcoholic. They were good people. They just had habits. They did the best they could to raise me. But when you have people that are dependent, my father was the one that I lived with, and he would stay sick. He really would stay really sick. There was no name for what they had. They didn't have a name for what my father had. And when he died in 1982, they put a name on it after he died called AIDS. So my father was being ravaged by the disease called AIDS. There was no name for it when I was growing up. It was just he was sick. And so it was tough for me. I was by myself a lot. I was abused by by family members, but I always had good family members and bad family members. fighting was just something I had to do. So it became second nature to me. I didn't like it, but I learned to be good at it.
So what age did you first walk into a boxing gym, Nate? And what made you choose to walk into the boxing gym, mate?
Okay, I walked into my first boxing gym. I was 17, but I was an outstanding basketball player. I had a killer jump shot, great handles, and it was the off season between basketball and I got a bunch of guys jumped me, so I really wanted to learn to defend myself better. So I went to the gym that was right down the street, and they put me in with all these guys that could box. And where I come from, there's no, we gonna take it easy on you. It is what it is. You're gonna get it just like everybody else get it. So I kept getting my rear end kicked. So they called me, said, "Hey man, basketball season start next week." I said, "I'll be there." I left the gym and went back to playing basketball.
Yeah, well, because out in America, I didn't realize you got jumped, but that can happen anywhere in the world. But over here in England, if you get jumped, at least in where I'm from, generally you're just getting jumped. Sometimes someone pulls a blade out, but obviously in your neck of the woods, people have got shooters and they can pull the guns out on you. It must have been a bit crazy, like.
Back when I was growing up, you talking about the 80s. We weren't shooting each other in the 80s yet. We hadn't started doing that. That wasn't big in my city. You had to fight. We talking 1987, 88, 89. You know, we still knuckle up a little bit. We still use these. And I wasn't afraid of getting shot. That was, you know, it wasn't something that rang in my mind like that. I'm an avid gun guy, so I love guns. I'm an avid gun guy. I shoot all the time. I shoot all the time. I'm a phenomenal shot. I shoot skeet. I shoot targets. I shoot AR-15s. I shoot any gun they make. 30-06s, you name it, I shoot them. But you know, that wasn't a big deal. I wasn't afraid.
So, what was your amateur record like before you turned pro then, Nate?
I was 30 wins, 6 losses.
Yeah.
I fought 2.5 years.
And that mate, that's an incredible record for amateur in such a short space of time. So you must have been really active in that period. Did you fight any notable names, or did you fight anyone who?
Yeah, I made the Olympic trials.
Did you? I never knew much about your amateur background, mate.
When I made the trials. It was in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I made the Eastern trials. I couldn't afford to just keep going away and fighting and not making money because I had 3 kids. So I said, I can't eat these trophies. I just can't eat them. So my daughters can't eat them. So I went pro. I kept boxing, but I was working so much I couldn't go. And then I went pro. And after I went pro, Jeff Lacey was fighting to get me on the team in 2000. Jeff Lacey was like, "Hey, get Nate Campbell to come over." Nate Campbell stopped these guys. Nobody's ever seen Nate fight. His style is real funky. He'll get him. And they called me, and I had just went pro, and couldn't go to the Olympics. But I think I did pretty good as a pro.
Oh yeah. Well, you didn't do too badly. So but who knows, mate? You could have got like more of a push at the beginning if you had done that, which is a real shame. But do you know what it is? Sometimes these things write themselves. You know what I mean, mate? That's just the fact of the matter. So when you went pro, you amassed like a 23-0 record, unbeaten, and then you fought the Cuban legend, Yoel Casamayor. And that was your first defeat in the pro ranks.
I beat him. I tell him every time I see him. Every time I see him in the gym, I beat you. You know I beat you. And we love it. I love all the guys I fought. I don't think there's any guy that I don't respect. I respect them all. But Joe Casamayor was the favorite. He was the one they wanted to win. He was the one that had all the big name and big upside. You know, he was my mentor when I won the world title, but he wouldn't fight me.
Well, so after you lost to Casamayor, well, kind of got that unlucky decision in that close fight that a lot of boxing fans, myself included, thought that you edged. You had a draw in your next fight, then you racked a couple of wins together, and it's probably one of the most infamous moments of your career for the wrong reasons.
No, it isn't. It isn't. I'm gonna tell you something. I know where you're going. The Robbie Peden fight. People didn't know this. I was trying to leave 130 when I fought Casamayor, but my promoter wouldn't let me leave. They told me, no, you got to fight him. You got to fight him. I couldn't make that weight. It's been years since I can make the weight. And my problem is so many promoters like, oh, you can make it. Maybe it's just what you're eating. How about I'm 30? I'm in my 30s and my body's trying to grow. And I was blacking out in the middle of sparring sessions. I blacked out. And the bell ring ding that I come to and the bell ring and I was go to the wrong corner, all kind of stuff. But for those spurts that I was lucid, I was a monster. But once I get to about 132, anything below 132 was just my body wouldn't do it. And there's a video of me sparring Ben Dunn at Wildcard Gym. And I watched the video some years back. I can't find it now. I actually blacked out in sparring. You can see me black out and lay on him. And just lay on him. No. And remember where I was and try to push. But that's for me training. I had to train so hard that it was second nature for me to do just to keep working. And I would black out in the middle of sparring sessions in the sense that I would just totally lose focus of where I was. And
so do you know when you like cutting so hard to make a weight? Like, how do you feel? Because I know a lot of fighters put 10 to 15 pounds back on. How do you feel the next day when you've ate back up and rehydrated? Because I remember a lot of coaches telling me that it takes 72 hours to fully rehydrate, and you've only got 36 really before the fight.
I never put on a lot of weight. I never put on a lot of weight. When I was fighting at 126, I walked around at 133.
So, with the Robbie Pedersen fight, just one thing that I'll ask, when you kind of drop your hands and invited him on, because especially in the first one you were doing so well.
That's not what happened though. I actually at that point, it's like I was trapped in my body. I could see him over there. I could literally see him. And I know I'm supposed to be walking to him punching, but I'm telling myself, why are my hands down? I'm actually talking out loud. If you watch the video, I'm murmuring, he's about to hit me. Oh shit, he's about to hit me, my exact words. And I watched the video and I'm like, and for me, people didn't know this. Financially, I wasn't making a lot of money. I had a lot of child support to pay, take care of a family. So I'm trying to build a dream and take care of my kids. And I didn't buy nice cars. I wasn't fancy this, fancy that. I'm still the same guy I always was. And I was always good with my money, but I didn't make a lot of it. So for me, that was a big, financially, I was going to make a lot of money after that. So I had to take the chance. And someone's like, oh man, you were showing off, bro. That ain't my style. I don't do that. That's not my deal.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like the concept. Like, I completely believe your side of it, and it's good to hear that side because a lot you don't strike me as that type of bloke, but obviously the footage looks a different way to the fans who don't know. You know what I mean? And that was always kind of what the narrative was about. You drop your hands and you were kind of taunting him, and he cracked you and put you away.
No, let me tell you a secret. Let's get this understood. If I tell them that I'm blacking out in fights, they're gonna make me go get all these medical procedures I can't afford. Promoter's not gonna pay for it. I couldn't afford that. So for the last almost 20 years, however long it's been now, I kept my mouth shut. I shut my mouth and I took it on the chin. Somebody said, why? I said, because my career as a whole meant more to me than proving that I was suffering from some illness. You know, I was drained. This is my body. I knew I could have said no. I might not have made the money, but as a man, I got to deal with this. So when people say, oh man, you were showboating, I say, okay. And I left it at that because it didn't matter to me how they felt. I still had my daughters to feed.
Yeah, well, I completely believe that, Nate, because you don't strike me as a show-off whatsoever, and that incident, what I witnessed, just seems completely out of character. So it's kind of good to get a little bit of like backstory about that out there. So obviously,
people think that you're making. People are always gonna say you're making excuses or this, that, and the other. I never spoke about this till last year. I never came out and said nothing about this till last year. I spoke about it on a friend of mine named Jason Cross's podcast on his website. I talked about it. I spoke about it, and I'm done with it. If people think that, look, the one thing I realize is this: if I don't have those Robert Peaton fights, I never go to 135. Nobody would ever say he's not. They kept me at 130 and drained me down till I was dead, and cared nothing about me. So by me losing to Robert Peaton the 2 times, I was allowed to go up in weight. I actually tried to fight one more time at 130 and couldn't make the weight, couldn't even make 130. I made 131 and was still shot by the time I got to the fight. I lost to Francisco Lorenzo, a guy who couldn't beat me on his best day, but he beat me on my worst day. So the next fight I fought was Kid Diamond. Look at what happened once I went to 135. If they didn't let me go to 135 when I wanted to go, I've been champion for years.
Let's get into that now about your 135 career, because you had those defeats, and I think you did you lose to was it Isaac, the South African guy?
Even he said, I never get him saying it in his corner. He said, I lose fights. I lose this fight. His exact words, I lose this fight. He beat me tonight. And they call him the winner. Broke my heart, but I've been there before. I've been through enough adversity to know that get back in line, go back to work, stop worrying about it. Once the decision is read, ain't nothing you can do about
it. That's a like positive way of looking at it, because it deters a lot of people. And I think I remember watching that fight as well. Was it not on the undercard of a big?
It was main event.
Was it? I remember watching a few of Isaac's fights, but maybe I just watched it on that fight on the internet then, because I remember watching it. But anyways, you racked a few more wins together, and then you got a title shot at the unbeaten, the then unbeaten Juan Diaz, who was the undisputed lightweight champion at the time.
Neither one of us were undisputed, because they had all those belts out there, and they had Casamayor's the millennial champ, and this guy's that champ, and the WBC belt was held by David Diaz, who lost to Pacquiao, and all that undisputed thing did with the Ring Magazine belt was sully up the water. All it do was muddy the water. So listen, if you go back and read my 30 with me at 135, I fought Kid Diamond, number 5, Slotwell, top 5, all top 5. Matt Zegan, top 5. Ricky Keelis, top 5. Everybody I fought, for the most part, top 5 was a top 5 guy. More than half of my guys were top 5 guys. and I never got rated in WBC. And so for me, I just knew that I didn't care about those. I didn't really care about it. I just knew that I had to get in position and win the titles that I could win. And the whole reason I signed with Don King was because I was number one for Juan Diaz, and he had one fight left with Diaz. He said, look, basically, this is what it is. If you want to fight, sign with me. And I signed with Don King, which probably was the best promoter I had. He was definitely the best promoter I had.
That was kind of like Don King's last run as a big time promoter, because he seemed to kind of fade away a few years after that. That was so when you beat Juan Diaz and you had 3 lightweight titles at the same time, and then I believe you defended it once against the Ali Funeka, the really tall and awkward fighter.
Right.
So then, after making a successful defense of the belt, you chose to move up and fight Tim Bradley in a.
That's not what happened.
I'll let you tell me about what the backstory was to all of that, mate.
I was trying to get fights. I was a regular guy. If you look at my run, I fought 11 times in 2001. I liked to fight. What happened was Joan Guzman was Casamayor was my mandatory. He was my mandatory, but Golden Boy had a content deal with HBO. So what they did was they used their content deal to fight around me. They just fought around me. They didn't fight me, wouldn't fight me, just fought around me. And by doing that, there weren't a lot of dates to be had. I had to fight mandatories. So because my mandatory was Joan Guzman, because Casamayor refused to fight me. He didn't make weight. And rather than fight me, he just didn't want to he wouldn't fight. So he pulled out of the fight the day of the fight. So I didn't get to defend my title the first time.
I remember that incident with Joan Guzman, and he had a reputation of failing to make weight classes, and he was a cracking boxer, but he was an erratic character as well. So ultimately, was the decision to fight Tim Bradley just to move up in weight and fight Tim Bradley? Was that just done out of no other options and no one else to fight and no other big names?
Well, you do know that I never lost the world title in the ring. I lost it on the scale. I couldn't make weight. I couldn't make 135 anymore. So because I couldn't make 135 anymore, I moved up and fought Tim Bradley because he was WBO champion and I had WBO belt. I was WBA champion. I was IBF champion. So I moved up to fight him. And the sad part about it is, for me, by the time I got to 140, I was disenchanted with boxing. I was tired of the games. I was tired of not making the money I thought I should have been making. I was just tired. I was tired. My back, my lower back had been bothering me for a long time. I have a pinched nerve in my lower back my whole career. And now I'm putting my body through all this wear and tear, and I'm training harder than I ever trained before. And I can't get the money I'm supposed to get. No respect. So I was tired of not receiving the respect and the money that I thought I should have got. You got guys like Berto, they had one belt that was making $1 million, $2 million a fight. I was making $300,000, $400,000 a fight. I wasn't making any money. And go figure.
Well, yeah, I did notice that with Berto, and the same's been true of quite a few fighters who were signed to Al Heyman. I don't know what his pull is or what his thing is, but he seems to get very good deals made for his fighters. Like, he seems to get them a lot of money. But so, like, as your career went on and you'd moved up to light welterweight, you did fight names like Danny Garcia, Victor Ortiz, and amongst others, and you were never stopped for the remainder. In fact, am I right in thinking that your fight with Danny Garcia was very close and could have went either way?
I beat Danny Garcia. Go watch the whole fight.
Yeah, because I remember Danny was just planting his feet and just trying to land big shots, but you were busier and just outboxing him really. Like, and I've seen that happen with. I thought the same happened with Lamont Peterson and Garcia. To be fair, like, but just give us your thoughts on that, mate.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, I knew by that time. I knew it was a game. I took the Danny Garcia fight. I trained for 4 days for that fight. People don't even know that. I trained 4 days for that fight. I was already training and running, but I wasn't boxing. So I boxed one time. I trained 4 days, and I went and fought Danny Garcia.
Well, I suppose by that point you had all that skill, but as you say, it must have been disillusioning when you're doing all the hard work and you're earning what you're earning just through boxing politics. You're kind of just not getting the opportunity. Could I just ask you one thing there? Because I've always wondered about this. Do you know, like in England, right? How it works is when you turn pro, unless you're like an Olympian and you're signed to like a big TV deal, you need to sell tickets to pay for your opponents. So you need to sell 50 tickets. And then what you sell on top of 50 tickets, you kind of keep for yourself within like a percentage. How does it work out in America if you're not like a big attraction and you're not a big deal? How does the deals work out for you out there?
Well, they're doing that now. They do that now, something to that effect now. But when I came along, I had a great amateur pedigree for in the state of Florida. I fought everybody. It wasn't a long pedigree, but I fought every national tournament. I was number 5 in the nation at one point. I was number 5 in the nation with 10 fights. I was 9-1, number 5 in the United States of America. So I was no regular old guy coming in. I could fight. And everybody wanted to see me fight with no headgear. I made $400 my first fight, 400, of which after I paid everybody and gave the money where I had to give to my then wife, I had $50 to my name. That's all I had. So one of my guys was like, man, that would have made me quit. I said, I had quit 20 times before that, every night. Every night I was sleeping on the front seat of my car and no hotel room and cold outside in Tallahassee, Florida. I would quit boxing every night. And it wasn't about the money. I knew it couldn't be about the money. It had to be about the focus on the championship.
So obviously, looking back, nobody can dispute the fact that you had a great career. It was a terrible shame that you were kind of like not given the opportunities and stuff what you deserved. But you know the history books will always remember that you were like held free belts at lightweight, and you beat some incredible names. And although some of these guys have wins over you, the fans who watch those fights on YouTube will know that you won against guys like Casameo and Garcia. So now that you've hung your gloves up from boxing, what's your involvement in boxing these days, and what's your like relationship towards boxing now?
I'm in the gym right now. When I walk out of this office, I'm in the gym right now. I train at a Muay Thai gym called Jack's Muay Thai. I box every chance I get. There's always some young guy come in the gym and they call me old, and I beat him up and run him off. Hold on. I joke about this. I boxed so much lately, I had to go buy a cup. I had to go buy a cup. Wait a minute. I just went and purchased, when I was in Vegas, some new gloves because I didn't have any gloves. I didn't have any gear. I got boxing shoes, but I didn't have a mouth. I had a mouthpiece. I didn't have a headgear, and I didn't have a cup. I didn't have any. totally got away from boxing. I made my mother a vow that I would stay out of boxing at least 5 years to go into the Hall of Fame. And she died December 2nd, 2016. And I wanted to go back to box because that was always my refuge. But I made her a vow, so I couldn't break my vow. And I went back. I wanted to go back to boxing so bad. But in December 2018, I was called and they told me I was being inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2019. So she didn't get to see me go in, but I went in to the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame. And now I just miss boxing. I always miss boxing, but I'm more of the kind where if the right situation comes along, that gives me a reason to get in shape. Me and Roy used to talk about this all the time on the phone. He says, hardest thing right now for us is to get up for a fight. It's hard to get up for a fight. It's impossible to get up for a fight. Keep your gloves out there. We're going to hit mitts. It's hard to get up for a fight. And for me, I love the fight. And I know what Roy means, how hard it is to get up for a fight.
I will. When that kind of hunger is gone, and especially if you've achieved as much as what you have, it's hard to get motivated for kind of like a step down. So I'll just quickly ask you a couple more things. Is first thing I'd like to ask is you've seen your friend Roy Jones Jr. just fight Mike Tyson. How would you feel if kind of they do more of these Legends cards and they ask you to maybe like have a go with somebody you would have liked to fight in your career? Another thing I'd like to ask is which is the one fight that you didn't have that you really, really wanted to have that you think could have changed things for you? This is 4 questions. Sorry, I'm cramming a few in here. Another one is you said
give me one at a time. What's the first one?
Right. Okay. Well, we'll go with that one about what would you do if you had if you could have like a Legends fight there like Roy Jones Jr. did? And who would you choose to fight as well?
This is I'm gonna give you answer 2 questions at once. I would definitely take a Legends fight. Oh, I love it. That gave me a reason to get in shape. Definitely take a Legends fight. The guys I didn't get to fight are the ones that broke my heart. Mayweather, Pacquiao, Marquez, Barrera, Prince Nassim Hamed. Those are the guys I really wanted to fight. I really, really want to fight them coming up. I would definitely take the fight. I would definitely take a fight. I would enjoy a fight. I think that with the right guy, it would be an awesome deal.
So I've just heard you saying that you train at the Muay Thai gym. Do you actually train at any Muay Thai? And would you ever have a go at like that or MMA or something like that, or do you just train there but do boxing?
I train here doing boxing, but you know what my big bucket list is? My big bucket list, I want to do a bare knuckle boxing. I want to do bare knuckle boxing. That's my thing. I want to do bare knuckle, no gloves. I get to put these big soup bones on somebody. They get a chance to hit me if they can. That's what I'm all for.
Mate, you know what it is? I would love to have a go at that myself, and I know some quite big promoters who do it over here, so I could maybe give them a shout for it. But I'd definitely be interested in seeing you take on someone in that capacity. But just one last thing, just to part on over here in the UK, this whole lockdown situation's massively disrupted boxing. Like, it's pretty much the only fights that are happening on televised boxing events, and it's even put a lot of regulations on how you train at the gym. I've heard Florida's a little bit more relaxed than most states in America are, but how's it? What's your thoughts on the full lockdown thing? I'll not say mine because I don't like it one bit, but what's your thoughts on the full lockdown thing? And would you how's it affected boxing? Sorry, in America, like grassroots, like amateur boxing and stuff like that.
It really has affected boxing. The lockdown is bullshit. I hope I can say that.
Mate, you definitely can, because we're very much on the same wavelength there. It's a load of bullshit. Thanks for saying that,
because if I'm not, if I can't, if the problem is grandmama and your grandmother, your grandfather, they should stay home. Those little people should stay home anyway. They ain't got nothing to do. They're retired. They should stay home. Just somebody should deliver their food in a bubble bag or whatever, spray it off at the door. This, that, and other. Those are the people who should have stayed home. People that were sick, people that were old, and those kind of people. But you shut down the world economy so that you could take away our rights. Don't get me wrong. You guys feel like y'all have rights. I feel like you guys are already suppressed. They took your guns away. I'm not giving my guns away. They never get my guns. So I'm old-fashioned American. I believe a gun is the greatest thing since a gun is better than food. So I think it's BS.
I completely agree. And technically, right, we are supposed to be allowed to own guns in the UK. It's actually in something called the Magna Carta, which should be our law, but they've kind of stole guns from us in the UK, and they've stole free speech from us. Like you can go in prison for saying certain things in this country, and it's to me, without getting too political, there's certain elements within the American government that clearly seem to be trying to do that. They're trying to attack the First and Second Amendments out in America.
Well, the thing about it is, the First Amendment is good, but the Second Amendment is the amendment that all rights hinge on. If you take the Second Amendment away, you can take every other right away. Freedom of speech, freedom of press, all those things disappear overnight when you take the Second Amendment away, the right to bear arms away. See, you know the history. We shot at a king. This country shot at a king. King George tried to take our guns away, and we shot at him. So a lot of people need to understand something. We like our guns more than we like our politicians.
Definitely, mate. And I don't think politicians are too popular in this country either at the minute, to be honest with you. But it's nice. It's nice to hear your thoughts on that. And
I'm an old-fashioned guy. I believe that every black man, white man, blue man, green man should be allowed to defend themselves to the best of their ability. I believe that what is really happening in the world is the effeminization of males. They want to make it where men and women are the same across the boards, and they're not. They're not the same. They're not created the same. They can't be the same. I have 3 daughters, 30, 28, 30, 26. I have 4 granddaughters. I don't want my daughters and granddaughters being treated like me. I don't want them to be handled the same way I am. And I know there's a big feminist movement in Britain. There's a big feminist movement in Europe. And it's trying to take over in the United States. And what's going to end up happening is men will revolt. But if they can take your guns away, you can't revolt.
That's so true, mate. And now you're seeing all of that about the feminization of men. Do you know what it is, mate? It's like if you watch every movie, all these songs, it's just turning men into beta males. It's like all men do is like submitting, if you watch a sort of old school films like James Bond and something, that's how a bloke's supposed to behave. Do you know what I mean? You watch stuff today, and it's like it's all bloody men crying over women and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And you're right, Nate. Can I just ask? Sorry, mate. I let you talk.
I'm at the point in my life where everybody can be who they want to be. I am happy when I see 2 men together. I love seeing 2 men kissing. That means those 2 men have taken themselves out of the way for 2 women that I can thereby take a shot at. I'm always good for that. I applaud seeing 2 men kissing. But you can't make me think that it's there's something I want for me.
And you're pretty much on the same wavelength as me with all of that. And can I just ask, since you've said all of that, what did you think of the current election in America, and who would you prefer to win, or do you just keep that to yourself, as is your right?
I totally voted against Biden. I voted against Biden. I voted against Kamala Harris, who is not a black woman. I'm sick of them saying she's black. There's nobody in her family that is black in the same sense that I'm black. Even Obama wasn't black in the sense that I'm black. My mother and father came from the descendants of slaves. My ancestry has a slave attached to it somewhere. Neither one of them have that. So they have tricked and fooled the masses with the BS that is. Joe Biden did not win the election. If you telling me that there are irregularities in Pennsylvania, there are irregularities everywhere.
Without one thing, I'll just say straight away. I mean, I'm English, so I can't really say, but do you really believe that Joe Biden got the most votes in American history?
No, I thank you. 80 million votes. He got more votes than Hillary Clinton and Obama. Stop it. Stop it. You telling me that senile old man who's suffering from dementia got more votes than both of those people? Stop it. You got it.
And it's as well with the whole postal vote thing, but there seems to be a massive effort on social media to suppress everyone who's giving another opinion about that. But I'm very much of the same belief as what you are on that, Nate. I'm pleased to hear your views on all that, mate, because it was a very interesting. But Nate, I really, really enjoyed that today. I'm now even more of a fan than I already was.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot for coming on. We'll have to do it again sometime, and I hope you take care, champ.
All right, anytime, man. Hey, sending much love from America.
Right. Cheers, Nate. What you doing, champ?